What's going on, Raider Nation? This is WiFiWillie of the Raiders Rundown. Today we are going to talk about our all-star pass rusher, Maxx Crosby. Should we make him the highest paid defensive player in the NFL? There's rumors that contract negotiations have started. We're going to get right into that in the future. We're also going to talk about the draft for the Raiders. Mark Davis, was he behind more picks than we realize? Going to talk about that in a second. And also Mike Mayock may be returning to the broadcasting booth. Would be interesting to see that familiar face this upcoming season. So let's get right into it. All right, Maxx Crosby could be getting the bag. He is on his final year of his rookie contract. He is set to make $4.3 million a year. And Raider Nation's asking themselves, is this guy going to be extended? Vic Tafur put out an opinion piece. And it's really weird because a lot of people have started thinking that the contract negotiations have officially started. There's actually no word or no confirmation that contract negotiations have started. If you look at Vic Tafur's article in The Athletic, he says Raiders start on Crosby's contract while Derek Carr's contract can be pushed to later. It's an opinion piece. He's telling the Raiders to do this. That does not mean anything's happened, but I do suspect something will happen soon, and who knows? Maybe this thing will be pushed out for quite some time. Either way, Maxx Crosby is expecting to get paid, and he is expecting to be one of the highest paid defensive players in the NFL. PFF contract projection right there says $27 million a year. They put out a piece saying $27 million a year is what they project that Maxx Crosby would be making for 2023 and beyond that. 5-year deal worth $136 million. That's higher than Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald currently makes $24 million a year. So Crosby would set the new record for edge rushers, and a lot of other edge rushers are going to be happy to see Crosby get a lot of money because that means they're going to get money when it's their time, right? And to be quite honest, Raider Nation worries often about paying people a lot of money. So does Mark Davis. We know he didn't pay Cooper. He didn't pay Khalil Mack and yada, yada. But this is a guy that you can't let go. This is a guy, a homegrown talent that you got to keep on your team. He's a leader on the team. He's a captain. And if you let this go, if the Raiders let this go or screw this up, you're going to let a lot of fans down, and you're going to let WiFiWillie down, because I really like Maxx Crosby, and he had a career year, a league-defining year. He had the most pressures in the NFL with 101 pressures. This is according to PFF. Had a 91 F PFF pass rushing grade, the highest of his career, and picked up 10 sacks and is on the way in 2021. 2020, we know he didn't have that great of a year. He was injured. He played with an injury almost the whole entire year. And what's actually crazy, he was so significantly injured, I believe it was his labrum, that he still played just as many snaps as he did in 2021. I think he played like 40 less snaps. So this guy still going out there, and that's why you got that 58.2 PFF grade, his lowest pass rushing grade of his career last year. It's because the dude was injured, and the dude was still balling out. He was still better than other players who could have played instead of him, still better than Farrell, still better than Carl Nassib in 2020, and still getting the lion's share of the snaps, because even Crosby injured was better than a lot of players on our team. So I'm not going to knock him for that 2020 year, and obviously 2019, 11 sacks as a 4th-round pick. You got to love that, and you got to love this story. And here's the thing, Maxx Crosby, like I said, he's set to make $4.3 million this year. He's going to want the money. He was drafted in the 4th round. He has not been paid like a first rounder. Cleveland Farrell has made more money in his career than Maxx Crosby. So Maxx Crosby would be wise to pursue whatever would benefit him the most financially, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So if the Raiders want to play hardball, not give him what he wants, he knows he can look at the rest of the league and go somewhere else. And that's why I really want Mark Davis, I really want Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler to not screw this up, to keep this guy, to give him what he wants. Make him the highest paid defensive player in the NFL. Convert his cap to a bonus and spread it out over multiple years. That way you don't hurt yourself in cap space. If there's one guy who you can give bonus money to, if there's one guy that you could fully guarantee he's going to be a monster, he's going to play hard no matter what, I want to just sign it fully guaranteed right now, it's Maxx Crosby. There's really nobody else who on this team who you could say, you know what? I'm 100% all in. I have absolutely no doubt they're going to be a monster for the rest of their career. And based on 2020, I have absolutely no doubt that, if they're banged up, they're not going to sit on the sideline. They're going to still play. They're going to try to play as much as they can and contribute to the team. So what better guy to convert a salary cap into a bonus? And so that's why I really hope Mark Davis does this. And Raider Nation, I want to hear from you. Should the Raiders pay Maxx Crosby $27 million a year, make him the highest paid defensive player in the NFL? I think you should. No matter what scheme you're in, just like Josh McDaniels said, 3-4, 4-3, whatever, 60% of the time we're in the nickel. And I know Maxx Crosby doesn't fit the 3-4. He's a 4-3 down edge rusher, but you could still find some usage for him there. Put him at outside linebacker. You think he can't do that? Either way, in the nickel, he's going to be pass rushing all day from the edge, and you're going to get a lot of production at him. So this is something to be concerned about. He's in the final year of his deal, just like Khalil Mack was. Khalil Mack was set to make his average $4.5 million a year in 2018, held out because he didn't get an extension for 2019 and beyond. Held out, didn't go to training camp, and all the way up until preseason, all the way up until the first week of the regular season, boom, we traded him away. So I really hope this isn't going to be Mack 2.0. I really hope this isn't going to be Mack 2.0. And I'm going to be completely honest, call me negative, whatever. I'm just trying to be 100% real with you. If the Raiders screw up these negotiations, this will be Mack 2.0. I'm confident that the Raiders won't screw this up. I'm confident that Mark Davis is going to realize, hey, if there's one guy I got to invest in, it's this guy. But this is the same exact scenario that Khalil Mack was in. Final year of your rookie deal. Worried about what's going to happen the next year. Yes, Crosby's still under contract for 2023. So was Mack. Mack was under contract for 2023. And look, it's not all the player. It's not all the player holding out. You think Mack wanted to hold out and not attend practice in 2018? No, his agent told him, bro, you're holding out. You're holding out so we can get you to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL, which is what Crosby wants to be. And that's what his agent's going to want him to be. So Raider Nation, let's not screw this up. And Raider Nation, let me know in the comments. Should the Raiders do this? Should they just set it in stone, pay the man? Let's see what could happen. I think they should. A recent report came out that Mark Davis actually wanted Henry Ruggs. He was the guy who pressured people into drafting Henry Ruggs. Now, these are still rumors, but there's a lot of credibility to them. And oftentimes in Raider Nation, we wonder, did John Gruden make all the bad picks or was it Mayock? Did Mayock make all the bad picks or was it Gruden, right? We have this pointing the blame game because we know John Gruden had a lot of control of the Raiders organization. And Mike Mayock, from a lot of people's perspective, was a de facto GM. He was somebody who was labeled the GM, but not really the GM. Similar to Gerard Mayo of the Patriots being the de facto defensive coordinator. He's not actually the defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick's the defensive coordinator, right? So we got to see what's going to happen with this in the future. You know, is Mark Davis going to chime in and convince Ziegler and Josh McDaniels to make a certain pick? Now, I personally think in this situation, I'm glad Mark Davis chimed in and convinced the staff, convinced John, convinced Mayock to draft Henry Ruggs. I know it didn't work out with Ruggs, and it's tragic what happened, but prior to the tragedy happening, I was very happy with Ruggs instead of CeeDee Lamb. Initially going into the 2020 draft, I was somebody who wanted CeeDee Lamb. You know, I watched the media and I was like, yay, CD. But when you look at Ruggs, how dynamic he is, that type of speedster, man, he really made such a huge difference in the first half of the 2021 season. And at that moment in time, with 6 weeks into the season, I was thinking, wow, I am so glad we didn't take CeeDee Lamb. Ruggs is a complete difference maker, man. Look at these deep threat bombs that he's doing. It's insane, right? So I'm glad Mark Davis did chime in this scenario. I'm curious to see, like, where else has he chimed in? And it's interesting to think that Mark Davis wanted Ruggs over CeeDee Lamb, because what Mark Davis wants the most is he wants flashiness. He wants a celebrity. He wants some pizzazz, right? He wants some spark. And he knew at the end of the day, CeeDee Lamb compared to Ruggs is going to hit the highlight reel, right? Ruggs is going to be on TV every single night with these deep bombs, and that's going to boost your organization. That's going to make the whole world see your organization, and that's what Mark Davis is probably thinking about in that scenario. So who knows what's going to happen this year in the draft? Is Mark Davis going to push Ziegler and McDaniels to say, hey, go get this physical freak, man? I know, this guy might be better for the scheme. This guy might have a better football IQ, but this guy is a physical freak. I want you to utilize him, and I want you to create some hype. That could be what happens in the future. Who knows? But I'm glad he chimed in this one. Mike Mayock was fired by Mark Davis, and a lot of people, like we talked about earlier, wonder if we could have blamed Mike Mayock for all the draft picks that we had, all the things that didn't work out. Len Bowden Jr. in the third round, Tanner Muse in the third round in 2020, and Damon Arnett. That's why I don't really care too much about the Ruggs pick. I'm not going to call that a bad pick because it was just one tragedy away from being a bad pick. But who's involved in drafting Netway? I want to know who is involved in drafting Netway ASAP. Somebody figure that out right now. I'm still trying to figure it out, and I hope it wasn't you, Gruden. I hope it wasn't you. Either way, Mike Mayock may be returning to the broadcasting booth. Now, Mike Mayock was a media guy, ESPN draft analyst, and you saw him on TV all the time during draft season. And a lot of people's drafting boards were based off Mike Mayock, and that's why people thought he'd be such a great drafter, right? Such a great GM in that department, but didn't work out in 2020. However, in 2019, Mike Mayock had an amazing draft. So we'll see who was that, Gruden or was that Mike Mayock, right? We'll see in the future. Time will only tell. But hey, if Mike Mayock returns to the broadcasting booth, if he returns to a network, and people are saying it could be Amazon, he could return to the NFL Network as well. Who knows? Maybe he goes back to ESPN, but he is currently in talks with NFL Network and Amazon. This guy's a great broadcaster. He's great at speaking to the media. You can watch a Mike Mayock press conference, and I guarantee you it's more entertaining than a Ziegler press conference, and that's for better or for worse for an organization. There's one aspect where you think, okay, I don't want a media guy doing press conferences. I want somebody very boring like Dave Ziegler. That way other teams get bored as hell trying to watch our press conferences and can't derive any meaning from it. But if you have Mike Mayock and John Gruden doing press conferences, they're so entertaining where you're somebody who doesn't know anything about the Raiders. You can watch that press conference and have a good time and then have a perspective on what they're going to do in the draft, what they're going to do in free agency. So maybe it's a bad thing to have a media guy in your GM department, in your staff, but Mike Mayock, however, he's really good on television, so we'll see what happens. And how much impact will Mike Mayock have in the future? We know he had a huge impact on draft prospects in the past. Mike Mayock's board, just like Daniel Jeremiah, just like Mel Kiper, it influences other people. So prepare for Mike Mayock to still have an impact on this league in the draft department. I'm excited to see what happens. From what we know, the Raiders have $19 million in cap space. They can make some post-June cuts to Corey Littleton, Carl Nassib, free up about $12 million, but then you got to think about paying the rookies. So roughly, I'm estimating when all things are said and done, the Raiders have $22 million in cap space to really do something this year, and we'll see what happens. But you're going to have to pay Derek Carr for next year, and you're going to have to pay Maxx Crosby for next year as well. So this is the season if you're going to go on a bull run. I think the time is now. The time is now because even if you extend Derek Carr and give him $35 to $40 million a year, and you extend Maxx Crosby, give him $27 million a year, all that's going to hit the cap in 2023. So 2022, you still got Derek Carr at $19 million and Crosby at $4.5 million. Let's sign some freaks on some one-year deals, and let's go on a bull run in 2022. That's a possibility, and that's something that I would do if I was the Raiders, right? Because this decision is going to be a big decision, and you're going to want this to impact your team next year and see how the cap is lifted and see how you could work around in the future. But for all intents and purposes, this year, you still have Derek Carr under $19 million, and no matter what, no matter what Derek Carr is extended to, even if it's a team-friendly deal, he's going to get more than $19 million a year. You see Tannehill, Garoppolo, Matt Ryan, these people are around $27, $30 million. So he's going to get more money next year. It's just depending on what it is, right? So you got to make a decision there. And if you're not going to make a decision on Crosby and Derek Carr, if you're not going to make a decision soon on the future, if you're going to wait a year to evaluate them, first of all, it's going to piss them off, and we don't even know if people are going to hold out. But you do have some options to ship people away. Tons of people need an edge rusher. Tons of people need a quarterback. I mean, looking at the quarterback market so far, and I know it's Davis Mills, not David Mills for the Texans. Sorry about that error, but you got a lot of places you can go, right? Bucks. Commanders, not the football team, Commanders, right? A lot of places you can go, Pittsburgh as well. They don't want to roll with Mason Rudolph. So I just hope we make the right decision. Let me know in the comments what decision you would make if you were the GM of the Raiders. What would you do with Crosby? What would you do with Derek Carr? How would you build this team? I really hope we just extend these two guys, right? Build in the draft, get us some weapons, get some of these speedy wide receivers in the later rounds of the draft, try to find a nice D tackle, offensive tackle too, solidify this roster, get a good cornerback as well. We need a number 2 corner, maybe a number 1 to be quite frank. And let's see what we can do in 2022. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we got a lot of holes on this team. We're not even a playoff team this year. Well, guess what? We made the playoffs last year. We barely lost because of a BS whistle and a lot of sketchy calls because for some reason, the NFL just lets Jamar Chase push off like crazy. He's the new Travis Kelce with pushing off. He's able just to freaking shove all of his cornerbacks to the ground. And that's how the Bengals beat the Raiders, to be quite honest, in the wild card of the playoffs. Now, when we lost to the Bengals the first time in the regular season, that was fair and square. I will say that. But this time, I thought it was a little sketch, right? So we were literally a play away from tying the team that went to the Super Bowl. So we have people who can compete, right? We have a team that can compete. It's just whether or not we're going to keep this ball rolling, whether or not we can afford these people, and whether or not we're going to make some moves and maybe take some risks. It is a risk to extend somebody like Crosby and Derek Carr because you don't know how you're going to be able to build around them per se. It is a risk to extend somebody like Crosby and Derek Carr because you might not know how you're going to have to build around them, and you're going to limit yourself in cap space. That's why I really hope Mark Davis starts converting some of this cap into bonuses, and let's build this roster. Let's free up some cap. Let's make some big moves. So, hey, my name is WiFiWillie of the Raiders Rundown. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like this video if you haven't already, and remember to subscribe to this channel, man. It really supports us, really helps build us in the algorithm. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.